What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about this bitterness. I'm talking about being in a dysfunctional family, coming from a dysfunctional family. Just the bitterness, the resentments, the frustrations, and the anger of coming from a dysfunctional family, a very abusive family, an abusive system. I'm also gonna talk about generational curses. Um, Not only with from my experiences, but from other people's experiences as well. I talk about how this world it's so fucking evil and how like there's so much corruptions, so much neglect. I'm also going to talk about the possibility of spiritual corruption as well. How like God seems neglectful and shit, and just corruption all in general, right? And just the bullshit of this human experience, right? So let's get to it. I might be all over the place, but let's get to it, right? So first, I'm talking about overall at a large scale, right? So in this world we're in, clearly there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of wars and battles, there's a lot of confusion going on in this world, right? I always ask myself, it seems like God or the creator of the universe, they seem very neglectful because if they really are real, how come they don't help out? Instead, in this human experience, we got to go through so much bullshit and stupid shit. This is where you get your soul contracts from, you get your karmic ties from. This is where like no matter what, every human being they always have to go through some type of suffering or some type of bullshit. You can't grow without pain, right? But I also believe you can grow without pain. But according to this reality, according to this fucking human experience we're experiencing, you can't really grow to your grow to your fullest potential. You gotta experience pain. This is why a lot of people gotta go through some bullshit in life, right? We live in a type of world where like you're defined by paper money. Some people make more paper money than others. And I'm not talking about when people earn that shit. I'm talking about where people are born with that. Like, how the fuck you're born poor? Like, some people are born without, people are born into poverty. We live in a type of world where, like, money controls us. Like, how the fuck, like, think about it. Money's just paper, right? If it's just paper, right, coming from trees and shit, and the government always prints that shit. Why do we still have homeless people? Why are people still in poverty? Why are people still starving? Why are people don't have access to like the shit we have in the U.S. Right? But just bullshit, man. And people may say, oh, because it's the economy or because there's a collapse. But how I look at it is like, bruh, we're fucking human. We're put here on this earth for a reason to survive. So why is it people are struggling to survive? Because the government, these fucking elites, they're holding the resources from us. People in the spiritual community always mention that like we need to create our own systems, we need to fight against the government, this and that. But how I look at it is this, right? First off, we don't even know who's controlling us. Second of all, if we do know, how the fuck are we supposed to attack these people? In order for us to attack these people and get the things we want, there's so much shit you got to do. One, you got to figure out tactics and strategies on how to attack the government, how to attack the elites, right? If they are corrupted, if these conspiracy theories are real, who's ever not the government at least, who's ever responsible for allowing so much corruption in this world to take place, who's ever responsible for using money control to fuck people over, who's ever if we figure out who's responsible for it, we got to set up a battle plan to take these motherfuckers down, right? But even if we do, one, a lot of people aren't going to believe you. Two, it's going to be hard to have a collective go against certain groups of beings or people who are controlling us. And once we do get these people and manage to get our wealth, we're still going to be a lot of chaos because we have a lot of stupid and crazy people out here. So like we can't really create our own systems. We can't really create our own money system. We can't really control our own like. I mean, we can't even like we can't create our own like housings, our money systems, our living environments because there's just so much shit we got to do. I ask myself, I mean, I guess it is important to study history because, like, we need to know what led up to the situation to we're in right now. Some people may say the world's not that bad. Some people say the world's bad. It's all about perspectives. But how I look at it is this, right? It's just like there's just so much money control, right? How the fuck do we still have third world countries? And you're like, I don't want to say it, but the C word 19. Some people say it's a hoax. Some people say it's real. But just the fact that the government is able to like force people to quit their jobs at a rapid rate, it shows how much control they really have. So like I don't understand how like in these human histories, there's always wars going on. There's always like battles going on and shit. You just think to yourself like, yo, why is there so much war, so much battles? I don't know why there's so much battles and wars. I'm assuming it has to do with money or just control or just resources in general. Why can't the whole world work well together? Why can't the world just sharing is caring, work well together, and like this whole world? Why can't we work well together and take down people who are corrupted? Why can't the whole world team up and and take down who's ever responsible for allowing a lot of evil and violence to happen, right? But it goes deep, like with these conspiracy theories. Some people say like the government elites they're connected to the U.S. and other parts of this area, or some people may say the Rothschilds or like the elites, the government. They run this whole fucking earth. They run this whole fucking world. So like it's kind of complicated, but basically like they form it in a way where like every country is against one another. That's according to conspiracy theories, but that could be true. Some people say now when it comes to different beings, there are different spiritual channels where people talk about like there's different beings running like that are controlling the government or that are part of the elites, like the reptilians or like the gray aliens. Who knows? The insect aliens. There's so much conspiracy theories out there. I guess we'll find out as time goes on. If we even do find out, or something does pop off, who the fuck knows? But yeah, but overall, this world, there's so much confusions in this world. There's so much answers that we need. That there's so much things that we don't have answers to, right? It's crazy. But I'm also gonna talk about generational curses. So let's get to it, right? So when it comes to generational curses, of course, it's all over social media on Twitter. Where like I always scroll through Twitter and I always like, well, I'm following um, this one website where it pretty much shows daily like fights and shit. And like I've noticed like there's a lot of school fights involving like middle schoolers, high schoolers, just kids fighting with authority. Like you see like kids fighting with teachers, kids cussing out teachers, kids fighting the police, the cops. And not only with them, but they're fighting each other. There's so much violence shit going on around the world. But just like not only that, but you have like a lot of people who are talking about trauma, people who are going to therapy. We have a lot of mass shooters. We have a lot of school shooters, and like we have a lot of homeless people, and we have a lot of crime, especially right now. If you're smart, all these things happen. It's happening, or at least one of the things why it's happening is because it's the result of bad parenting and bad households, right? And this is why going to talk about generational curses. Again, I learned all these from other people as well, but I'm just coming up with my own conclusion. I'm kind of using it in my own words, so I hope I'm not copying. I learned all these from different YouTubers, from different people, and I'm trying to come up with my own conclusion, use my own words if that makes sense. But I've noticed it's a cycle where like two people are very toxic and dysfunctional, right? They meet up, they date around, even though both of them are fucking toxic as fuck to each other. They're horrible people. They don't do the healing work. They don't care to do the healing work. They're too afraid and it's too painful, which I don't blame them because this human experience is painful because the human being has a nervous system. So when you try to do the healing work or when you're experiencing some type of trauma, it's so hard to get out of that and to heal from that because you have a nervous system. People say in the spiritual community, the human body is like it's like a prison for the spirit. It's a prison for the soul, right? So it makes sense how the human body has a nervous system. So if I were to pinch myself, I would feel it. It will hurt, right? If you get stabbed up or shot, it will hurt, right? So that's one of the reasons why people don't want to heal their traumas and their wounds because the human body has a lot of pain, you know? Not only with that, but people are afraid to get off their comfort zones because the human body has a because it's painful. We naturally want to rest and relax, but in this reality we're living in, you can't do that. This is why when you work out, you feel pain. When you get stabbed up, you feel pain. When you go through a breakup, you go through pain. This is why it's so easy for like a child and like a baby to develop a lot of trauma at a young age. This is why when you're a parent, you got to be extremely careful because when you say the wrong things, when you lash out at your child, or if you accidentally hurt them, it's so easier for the child to develop a lot of trauma like that because the human body is so fragile, pretty much, right? Even when you get older, when you're like 90 years old, 100 years old, when you're like 100 years old, you can't walk like that. You can't run. You can't work out. You can't talk. You can't do anything. You pretty much when you're 90 to 100 years old, you're pretty much a baby all over again. And and your human body is just fragile. And I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like the human body is extremely weak. The flesh is weak. But the spirit is strong, but the flesh is weak. That makes sense. But where was I? Yeah, but you have so basically, when it comes to generational curses, you have two people, right? Male and female. They're very toxic to one another, and they're very toxic people, and they refuse to heal their traumas and wounds, right? They meet up, they date around, they get into a relationship, they have sex, unprotected sex, and then they create babies. They create more than one child. Some have two child, or one baby, two babies. Some have three babies. Then next thing you know, they have a whole family, right? Now these two people, they're so fucking toxic, right? And they never done any healing work to change. And now, what about these kids? They're constantly arguing. They eventually break up, and now these kids, as they grow older, they're stuck in single parenting households, and now they don't have that father figure. They don't have that masculine energy, and vice versa. If they're living with the fathers, they don't have that woman figure. They don't have that feminine energy. But more so when parents go through divorces, it's always the kids that want to. I mean, it's always a woman who has the custody of the kids, right? And there's a lot of videos where people are talking about where like it's a bad idea to have single parenting. Now I understand some people may say single parenting is a lot better than having two dysfunctional ass parents that don't like each other fighting, right? It, there's no right or wrong, I guess, based on opinion or perspective. I'm just saying, like, there shouldn't be as much divorces, man. Like, there's no excuse for divorces, especially if you're gonna have kids. If That's why a lot of people they're just fucking stupid. You see, I'll kind of observe people. I'll see their day habits. I'll see how they live life. And it makes sense how like these same fucking people have kids because like they don't think long term. They're very reckless, and when they bring a kid to this world, they're not even ready to be a fucking parent. And that's a problem with this world. This is where you get your generational curses from. When these two people aren't ready for a relationship because they refuse to do the healing work, and they're very fucking toxic. Either they have kids and they're going to create a chaotic household, well, they're going to create a chaotic household regardless. So they bring their kids into this world. The parents are always going to argue. They don't know how to be a fucking parent because more than likely, when they have kids, a lot of people, not everyone, but most people that have kids, they have these kids by accident, to impulse, right? And usually it's with the people they don't really like or don't want to be around that are very toxic to one another, right? This is where you get your divorces from. This is why people always break up. This is why you get your single parenting, you get your single baby moms, baby daddies, because they keep having kids when it's by accident, right? Um, and then for the kids, it fucks the kids up in the long run because as they grow older, they're gonna witness their parents fighting. They don't know what true love is when it comes to their parents. Either that or they're gonna be raised in a single parenting household with their mother, most likely, and they're gonna be missing that masculine father figure. So it's gonna be hard for these kids to remain balanced, especially for sons. For daughters, I'm not sure how it is for daughters, but yeah, the same daughters because that daughter she needs her dad, she needs her daddy, she needs her masculine energy, right? But it's a huge imbalance. So when kids don't, they're either missing a mother figure or a father figure. Either way, these single parent households, it's an imbalance, and this is where you get your crimes from. This is where you get your impulses from. This is why people lash out. This is why you have like daughters like being hoes or sluts, or like they're selling themselves to the streets, and you have multiple people just using up those daughters' bodies, and now the daughter gets pregnant, and now it's a constant cycle of generational curses where that daughter is having kids by accident, and then she doesn't want to be a parent, but because she came from a horrible family background, from shitty parents or a single parenting household, she doesn't have the knowledge or the wisdom or the information to know what it's like to be a decent human being, right? So now she's living life recklessly because she never had the guidance from either her mother or from her father or from both people. And now she's out here being reckless, and now she has a kid, and now the cycle continues. Now for the son's raised by mother, based on what I learned from other YouTubers, that like that son's missing a father figure. That son needs guidance. The son needs structure and discipline, right? If the son don't has that, he's gonna act more impulsive. He's gonna be more emotional. He's gonna have a lot more feminine energy. And there's nothing wrong with feminine energy, but if there's an imbalance with feminine energy and masculine energy, you're gonna be more reactive. You're gonna be more like impulsive. And this is where you get your crimes from. This is where you get your mass shooters from. This is where you get your school shooters from. This is where you get your fights from. That's why a lot of people are fighting. A lot of people are shooting up people. A lot of people are shooting up schools. A lot of people are robbing people. A lot of people are just doing a lot of reckless shit because, and even suicides, because of bad parenting and of an imbalance when it comes to parents because they weren't raised right. But it doesn't even have to be at that. Well, that is a case what I just mentioned, but it comes in different forms. Like it can be simple as like if it's not that severe, then it can be simple as like a kid feeling extremely empty inside, a kid feeling extremely lost and confused, especially if that kid has an emotionally unavailable mother or a father. That kid's gonna extreme or both. That kid's going to feel extremely empty. That kid's going to feel extremely like confused, like they're not too sure of themselves, and they're gonna struggle in life. Especially that kid, especially if those parents don't have the proper finances to set their kid or kids up for success. There's no excuse why, as parents, your kid doesn't have a fucking car. In my opinion, every parent should at least have an affordable car where they could give it to their kids once they get out the house. People may say, "Oh, I work for my car. Why can't you work for it?" In my opinion, that's a shitty mentality. The I'm not even a fucking parent, but I know this shit. Or if not, maybe I just think differently. And a lot of you people who have kids who whose intentions isn't to set them up for success, there's something wrong with y'all. If you have a kid, right? And I understand people have kids by accident, but I'm talking about if you're trying to have kids intentionally, make sure you're financially set. So once your kid is born, that kid has an affordable car, that kid has finances to go to college, and just you gotta, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying spoil the kid. I'm just saying set that kid up for fucking success. Make sure that kid has enough clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, bro. Like, fuck, man. Like, I gotta explain this shit, man. 'Cause a lot of parents, like, the more I talk about this shit, it pisses me off. Cause like, I'm tired of parents having kids by accident or like, and I'm not talking about the good parents. I'm talking about the bad parents and shit, man. Or just very ignorant parents, bro. Like I never understood how like parents will have kids by accident, right? Or either that or they have kids for the wrong reasons, right? And then once a kid acts up, they want to put the blame on the kid and they want to lash out at the kid, even though it was the parents' fault because they're so fucking ignorant. They don't know why the kid's acting up. They don't know what they're doing wrong. But not all the time, but more than likely it's the parents' fault because they have lack of knowledge. They don't know how this world works. They're not financially structured. They don't know how to raise a fucking kid right. They don't have emotional intelligence. And this shit happens all over the world. That's one of the reasons why this world is so chaotic. because we have dumbass spirits, dumbass people that are keep having kids and they don't not know how to raise the kids, and then these kids are all fucked up, and it's a constant cycle of bullshit. I don't. It is humans' fault, but it's also the system's fault as well. Just the fact that the system we're living in, we have a lot of money control. Where like you can easily get laid off. You have to be a slave to earn paper money just to barely get by. Not even get by, but just to even survive. It's hard to have a family living in this society. You got to sacrifice your whole life just to work at a bullshit job you don't want to be in, just so you can survive. Last time I checked, food and water is free, but yet we sacrifice our lives just to even have access to free water and free food. Food is natural. Fruits and vegetables come from the earth. Water comes from the earth. But yet we have to sacrifice our lives, tire ourselves out, and be a slave just so we got access to those kinds of resources. It makes no fucking sense, right? But that's the type of world we live in. In this world, I've noticed people don't really acknowledge how hard it is. You could bust your ass off your whole life, get these college degrees, get work experiences, and build up your resume so you can work at a good job. But at any given moment, that same good job you busted your ass for, it can end through economic collapse at an instant. And now you're broke all over again. So, or like the banking systems all over the world decides that it's going to close it down, or like it's not going to work, or it's going to refuse to give people their money, or if the stock market collapses, if Bitcoin collapses, this whole system is so like unstable, right? It could collapse at any given moment, and now all the hard work, all the sacrifice and dedication you put in just so you can provide yourself the life you want to be in, not only for yourself but for your family, for success and safety, all that is gone on the window just like that. And who calls the shots? The government and these elites. They call the shots, or who's ever responsible for like controlling the money system, right? So not only is humans' fault for their ignorance and lack of intelligence, but it is their fault, but it's not their fault really, because who's like it's not their fault, like because when with this system, we don't know how this shit even started up. We don't know how the system even took place. We're just now starting to realize that this world is very corrupted. This is where you get your conspiracy theories. I think according to astrology, we're in the Aquarian age. So like just now, a lot of people are starting to wake up to see the corruption in this world, and a lot of people aren't realizing this until now. So it's not so it's not humans' fault technically. Kind of is, but they just don't know any better. You know what I'm saying? We're just doing the best we can to survive, pretty much. We don't know any better. But this is why it's important to study your histories. But this is where it gets confusing because how do we even know what led up to these corruptions? Like what led up to it? How do we know all the information we're getting from the internet is even accurate? And then that's when it comes to spirituality. I gotta make this video quick because I gotta use the bathroom and so I'm trying to speed up the process. I will make a part two, but I want to get my point across, but before I end this video. But when it comes to spirituality, right? I feel like spirituality ties into this as well. Just the fact that we live in a corrupt system, just the fact that we have human beings who don't know any better. I feel like it's the universe's fault. I feel like it's God's fault. I feel like it's the creator's fault because last time, if the creator and the universe and God and the biblical teachings are somewhat real, when it basic shit, when if we have a creator, we have a God, we have good and evil, God and the devil, right? If shit like this is real, why would God create man and humans to the point where God is aware that we live in a corrupt system, we live in a corrupt world, but yet they're not doing anything or jack shit to fix this shit. If God wants the best for us, then why would God allow so much corruption to happen in the first place and a lot of ignorance and for us to not know or even realize that there's corruption taking place in the first place, right? Not just with God in the universe, but there's different beings in different realms. This is where you get your spirits from, your ghosts from, why am I stuttering? Your shadow figures from, right? Damn. But that was kind of embarrassing. But this is where you get your realms from. So we're in the third realm, right? And then you have the fourth realm, you have the fifth realm. This is where all the spirits reside in, your ghosts and all this shit, right? But it makes no sense how different beings in different realms, they don't have access or they can't go to this realm and help us out. They do show up here and there. This is where you get your reports from. Some people reports of seeing ghosts. Some people reports of seeing spirits and shit, right? But in my opinion, I feel like all of these are just glitches in the matrix, right? So it kind of makes me think, like, are we really in a prison planet? Like, are we really being controlled? Are we really being like? Is there really is are there really spiritual corruption? You know how there's corruption in the government with the elites, right? I feel like there's spiritual corruption in the spirit realm as well, because just the fact that we have other realms like the fourth realm, the fifth realm, and spirits, right? Why can't they come down here and help us out? I feel like I feel like no one questions the creator or the universe as much because this world is so fucked up. And if God wants us to change and better ourselves, why can't God just come down here and change this world for, and end all this shit at a quick instant? When I say end, I'm talking about wiping out humanity. I'm talking about end all the corruption, and all the confusion. So as human beings, it'd be a lot easier for us and be a faster process for us to get our shit together. But yet God just watches. Or at least it seems like God just watches this shit happen. It seems like the universe watches all this bullshit to happen, and they do nothing about it. It seems like. But I'll make a part two. It's a quick video, but I gotta go somewhere. I'm out.